Welcome to the Accent Training Podcast, a podcast where I teach you to harness the sounds of your spoken English and to use the type of accent that you decide for yourself when you speak. The one that I have to offer you is the American accent. Other people will teach you other accents. There's probably Irish accent teachers out there, English accent teachers, like, from Britain. English. That type of accent teachers. Australian accent teachers, why not? But the American accent is my specialty. My name is Pat. I'm from Toronto. I live in Mexico. And we've got a drought going on in my city at the moment. A drought. D-R-O-U-G-H-T. Drought. What is a drought? A drought is when the water is running out or when it totally runs out. Now, we're in a drought because the rivers have run dry. Normally, Monterey sees a lot of rain in the wintertime. There's a rainy, cold season for, maybe 3 months or so. But this past winter, honestly, I can count on one hand how many rainstorms we've had. And that's a problem because without rain, we don't get things growing the way that they should. The water reservoirs don't fill up, and now we're at a point where 1 or 2 days of the week, your water is cut off. A different area gets their water cut off every day. In fact, mine's tomorrow. So I've got to shower and wash my dishes tonight because tomorrow there's no water coming through those faucets. We're in a drought. We've all got to make little sacrifices for the greater good. Now, how do I turn that into an English class? Well, the word drought is itself an interesting one, isn't it? I'm not really pronouncing it the way that it's spelled. D-R-O-U-G-H-T. Drought. The G and H are totally disappearing. The T can be made into a stop T. Drought. Not even released. And that O-U are getting that ow kind of sound. There are a plethora of words in English which aren't pronounced the way that they're spelled. That likely doesn't come as a surprise to you at this point. Now, the reason why is because the English that we speak today is made up of many languages that have adapted it over the years. We've got Norwegian, we've got French, we've got Latin, we've got Greek, even Sanskrit. There are even English words that come from the ancient Indian language, Sanskrit. So many languages have come together over the years to form our modern English, but today we're just going to focus on one, French. We are going to break down just a handful of French words that are pretty consistently used in today's spoken English. Now, we'll get to those in just a moment, but before we do, I've just got to say, folks, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you give this podcast a nice little rating. Leave a comment if you like what you hear. Let me know. I'm happy to hear from you, folks. And if you really like what you hear and you think to yourself, I want to take this to another level, let's get on track with things together, my friend. You can feel free to send me a message on Instagram or Facebook at Accent Training Club, and we can work out a schedule for some one-on-one classes. I am more than happy to work with anybody who's serious about learning the American accent and show you how we can make it happen. Send me a message on Instagram for more details. And beyond that, if one-on-one classes isn't your thing, not a problem. There's a video course available on a lovely website called Udemy. Feel free to check the link in the description where we can get started on that together on your own time. All right, so let's get into today's lesson. Let's talk about these words of French origin that maintain the French sound, sometimes even the French spelling. Now, what we've got is just a quick little short story I've written here. A conversation between a couple who are soon to be wed. They are fiancés. Fiancé. A woman speaking with her fiancé. A man speaking with his fiancé. What is a fiancé? Well, a fiancé is someone who is promised to be married. They have made a verbal agreement with another person that they will pledge their love to them. So what we're going to do is read through this story here. I will put this story in the description so that you can read along with me yourself. And we'll see just how some of these common French-sounding words are used in context. Let's get into this. What's your least favorite music genre? Charlotte asked her fiancé. I can't stand today's pop music. That genre's full of generic garbage. There's no imagination anymore, George replied without hesitation. I had no idea you were such a connoisseur of pop culture. Charlotte smiled, rolling her eyes. A pop connoisseur. I'll add that to my resume. I may not be an expert, but I know good music when I hear it. This felt like deja vu to George, but he had no problem with that. He enjoyed his lunchtime rendezvous at the café with his fiancée. Her sarcasm made their dialogue a pleasant escape from his mundane schedule. We should check out that new salad buffet that opened. We've got to start our diet to prepare for the big day. It's time to say bon voyage to cheese and bread and hello to carrots and tomatoes, suggested Charlotte enthusiastically. I've heard that buffet has valet parking. It's quite exquisite for a salad bar. Is it in our budget? Well, it won't be cheap, agreed Charlotte. But it's just a petite expense to ensure we're healthy. You can't put a price on that. So George and Charlotte, young lovers with a sense of humor, trying to decide between healthy living and wedding expenses. Now let's just quickly break down the words that we read through in here. See how they apply in context. The first one that came up was genre. What's your least favorite music genre? Least favorite music genre. Now genre is the French word for kind or type of something. And that's what we use it for in English, particularly with arts, music, movies. Now that word genre, spelled with G-E-N-R-E, but it maintains the French zh kind of sound in the beginning. I'm not saying genre or genre, but genre. Strong in the beginning, Jean, and then r. Kind of flat on the ending. Genre. Now after genre, there was the word fiancé. And if you're looking at this script, if you're looking at what I wrote here, you'll notice that the word fiancé is spelled with one E. And that E has an accent on it. When we put that marking over top of vowels, we call it an accent. This has that accent, which in French would signify the A kind of sound. Fiancé. Say. Fiancé. Now, when we're speaking about a male fiancé, we spell it with one E. But if it's a female fiancé, we spell it with two E's. We'll see that double E, fiancé, down below when we refer to Charlotte. Anyway, after fiancé, it says that genre, referring to pop music, that genre is full of generic garbage. Garbage. Generic garbage. These are both words that come from French as well. Generic. This does have that G-E-N spelling, but I'm not saying generic. Generic. I'm saying generic. So again, the spelling is the same as genre, G-E-N, but we Americanize it. Generic. Garbage. Garbage. Another French word that's been Americanized. I'm not saying garbage with a zh ending. Some French words in English do get the zh ending. Massage or garage. But some of them just get the j sound. Garbage, manage, damage. Words that come from French but just get a j. So after that, generic garbage. Which, by the way, generic is to say it lacks imagination. It lacks creativity. It's generic. They're just copying what someone else did, and they're not even doing it as well. But then Charlotte hits back with, I had no idea you were such a connoisseur. Connoisseur of popular culture. Now again, check the spelling of connoisseur. This is a good word to know. It's a classy word. I like the sound of it. Connoisseur. I don't just like McDonald's, I'm a connoisseur of McDonald's. Connoisseur. Someone who's an expert at judging something, who knows the good from the bad and has maybe studied this topic a little bit. A connoisseur. And so here Charlotte is using it sarcastically. She's not literally saying that George is a connoisseur of popular culture. She's exaggerating the point. She's using an exaggerative word. She's being sarcastic. Which, by the way, sarcastic, sarcasm, more words which come from French. Sarcastic, sarcasm. I'll make a whole episode about sarcasm in the future, because it can be a whole language of its own, and if people are being sarcastic and you don't really catch on to it, it can be a little bit annoying. And so I'll make an episode about that kind of communication later on. But the word itself, sarcastic, over-exaggerating something to kind of mock it. She's mocking him. Another word coming from French. Now next up, George says, a pop connoisseur. I'll add that to my resume. A pop connoisseur. Again, he's also being sarcastic. Now they're just being silly. I'll add that to my resume. You know, my next job interview, I'll mention I'm a pop connoisseur. A resume. This is a word, it's spelled the exact same as resume. R-E-S-U-M-E. Resume. Like the verb, to continue with something. Resume. But we're saying resume. We're giving it a strong re, and then z, and then may. Resume. And again, check the spelling in the description there. You'll notice I spell it using those accents. That's one of those words. It's got an E on the ending, and it's maintaining that accent. That's how we know to make the A sound. Not super common in English, but it is used. So he says, a pop connoisseur, I'll add that to my resume. And then we're adding a little bit of emotion to the scene just after that. This felt like deja vu to George. Deja vu. Deja vu. It's French to say, I've seen this before. Deja vu. Another commonly used expression in English. You ever get that feeling when something's happening and it feels like that's happened in the past? Maybe you think to yourself, did I dream about this? Am I reliving a moment? Have I been right here before? It's a weird feeling, right? We call it deja vu. We steal the word from French. So deja vu. Now this is a two-part word. It's spelled D-E-J-A, deja, space, vu, V-U, deja vu. And this felt like deja vu to George, but he had no problem with that. He enjoyed his lunchtime rendezvous at the café with his fiancé. Lunchtime rendezvous at the café with his fiancé. A rendezvous. Another two-part word. This is using two French words, and it's a very common English expression. A rendezvous is when you set a time and a place to meet. You say, we'll rendezvous here, and then we'll head out for our plans. You just meet, we'll rendezvous here and chat. We'll rendezvous here and I'll bring you up to speed. Rendezvous. This two-part word is spelled R-E-N-D-E-Z space or hyphen V-O-U-S. Folks, this is just a quick message to remind you to subscribe to the Accent Training Podcast. If you haven't already, you don't want to miss a second of this accent training experience. And you want to be updated whenever I've got new content out for you. So if you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe now. Now, I believe that can also be spelled without a space or a hyphen. I think that today's Modern English will allow that to be pronounced as one individual word. And I say that because I've just made that into one individual word on my Google Doc, and it didn't tell me it's incorrect. So, interesting. 2 words have come to be one. After that, we said at the café. Café, again, spelled with an accent. Check the description, the spelling, it's spelled with an accent. Rendezvous at the café with his fiancé. Now this is the fiancé spelled with 2 E's. Fiancé. 2 E's on this one. That is the feminine fiancé. Masculine fiancé has only 1 E. Her sarcasm made their dialogue a pleasant escape from his mundane schedule. Whoa, that one's full of French. That sentence was half French. Sarcasm, dialogue, pleasant, mundane. French, all through our English. Sarcasm. This one's a noun. Sarcastic, an adjective. Over-exaggerating some example for the sake of mocking something. Dialogue. Dialogue. D-I-A-L-O-G-U-E. Her sarcasm made their dialogue a pleasant escape. Dialogue. Now that L-O-G-U-E, that's a French ending. O-G-U-E, you'll often see that in words that come from French. Notice I'm not saying dialogue, like logua. I'm not pronouncing that U-E, just a log. Dialogue. Dialogue is, of course, a discussion, an exchange of words between people. After that, we've got pleasant. It was a pleasant escape. That also comes from French. Also coming from French. Pleasant. Something that's nice. It's not great. It doesn't take you over the moon. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's pleasant. Often in the day, we need something pleasant in order to get through our mundane tasks. George wants to escape his mundane schedule. Mundane. Another word coming from French. Mundane. Mundane is to say something that's repetitive, it's boring, it's not inspiring. Drains the life out of you. Is a description, it's an adjective. This is mundane. This monotonous work is mundane. So just below that. Next up, after pleasant, mundane, dialogue, what else do we got? We got buffet. We should check out that new salad buffet that opened. Salad buffet. Notice buffet. Check the spelling. B-U-F-F-E-T. I'm not pronouncing that T on the ending. I'm not saying buffet or buffet or anything like that, but buffet. Now, I can't speak for all French words. If all French words ending in E-T have an A sound, I don't know. But buffet sure does. So we got to check out the buffet. We've got to start our diet. Diet. Also coming from French. D-I-E-T. Notice I'm not saying diet, but instead I'm starting strong. Diet. Strong week. Diet. So we've got to start our diet to prepare for the big day. Now, prepare for the big day, it's not a French expression, but this is a good idiom I just want to point out. Prepare for the big day. The big day for these folks is their wedding day. It's just a cute way of referring to your wedding day. It's the big day. Big day's coming up. Back to the French. It's time to say bon voyage. Bon voyage to cheese and bread, and hello to carrots and tomatoes. Bon voyage literally means have a good trip. But in this context, again, we're seeing Charlotte here. She's someone who likes playing with her words. She likes being a little silly. And she's saying, have a good trip, cheese and bread, carbs and fats. Hello, carrots and tomatoes. Low fat, high nutrient vegetables. Ideal on your diet. I'm not a dietitian. Don't take diet advice from me. I'm a McDonald's connoisseur. So bon voyage, again, 2 words, B-O-N space V-O-Y-A-G-E. And notice that, voyage. Another one of those aj sounds, just like genre. By the way, if you want to work on that zh sound, I do have an episode about that. The ZH. Podcast episode number 72 deals with that. How and when to say zh. Zh. It's a tricky sound. Check it out. Bon voyage. But hello to carrots and tomatoes. Carrots and tomatoes. Both words coming from French. Carrots and tomatoes. Now next up, I heard that buffet has valet parking. Buffet. E-T ending. Valet. E-T ending. Making an A sound. I'm not saying valet parking. Valet, but valet. When you pull up at a nice place, maybe a casino or something, and somebody in a nice red jacket will take your car keys and go park it for you. Valet parking. It's quite exquisite for a salad bar. Is it in our budget? Exquisite. Exquisite comes from French as well. Isn't that a fancy French-sounding word? Exquisite. All the finer words seem to come from French. Exquisite. Lovely sounding language, isn't it? And the other, budget. Is it in our budget? B-U-D-G-E-T. I'm not saying budget, but budget. Budget. Now, that does have an E-T ending, just like buffet and valet, but it's not budget. Not for American English speakers, we say budget. Budget. We need to make a budget for the wedding. A budget. And then our final French word in here, petite. It's just a petite expense to ensure that we're healthy. Petite. A petite expense. Now, petite is a word that we use to describe something that is, relatively small. Petite shoes, for example. A baby wears petite shoes. They're petite. They're just little tiny shoes. Compared to an adult's shoes, which are regular size shoes. So this is like saying this is petite. Compared to all of our expenses, this one's petite and is for our health. We want to have good pictures at the wedding. Your grandchildren are going to see these pictures. You want to look good in those wedding pictures. It's a petite expense for your health, and you just can't put a price on that, can you? That's a classic term from salespeople. You can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on that. If someone says that, they're probably trying to sell you something. They're trying to tell you, hey, it doesn't matter how much money you put on this. This is priceless. So just give me all of your money for it. You can't put a price on that. Another great idiomatic expression. So there you have it, folks. Not only did we just learn a number of new words, we got to put them to work. We use them in context. And hey, if you like, you've got your own quick little dialogue that you can read for yourself, and you can read it out with a friend. You can practice the pronunciation of these words, and you can build some of these words into a habit that you use yourself. There's plenty of good ones here to work with. Well, let's wrap this one up for today. I'm feeling satisfied with what we've accomplished. I think that you can now take this, apply it into your daily life, and hey, share it with a friend. If you like what you heard, try using these words at work. Use them in front of your boss, guaranteed to give you a promotion. It sounds sophisticated to use French words in your spoken English. The average native English speaker uses these words quite regularly. We just work them into our daily life. It's just regular kind of English for us. However, the typical non-native speaker does not use most of these words. So these are words that'll set you apart from the crowd. Use them according to your own good judgment. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen. I've been having a great day myself. It's a Sunday. I got to take a little bit of time to just relax, chill out. I thought to myself, I'll record my episode today. I can edit it on Monday, get it out for you by Tuesday. and everybody learns a little something as a result. So keep an eye out for new episodes. Make sure that you hit subscribe so that you're updated whenever new things come out. Last week I put out 2 episodes. I had time. I had a good idea for an episode. I thought, why wait on it? Why not just make it, put it out now? Give the people what they want. I can't say I'm going to do that every week, but if you hit subscribe, you'll know whenever I do. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't want to wait until next week, and if you want some hard-hitting materials to learn more from, I invite you to check out the link in the description of this podcast episode, which will bring you to a website called Udemy. Now, Udemy is a marketplace. I don't own Udemy, but I uploaded a video course to Udemy. You can go on Udemy and you can search whatever you want to learn. Personally, I've purchased a course on Udemy about stock investing, and I've purchased another course on Udemy about growing social media profiles. Now, the stock investing course I learned from, and I made a little bit of money from. However, the social media course I'm still working at, and I really haven't seen that much growth as a result. But beyond those things, you can also learn the American accent on Udemy. There are dozens of fantastic courses teaching the American accent on Udemy, one of which was created by myself. I put my own blood, sweat, and tears into this to ensure that my students could get advanced materials to learn from. This video course is designed to teach you how you can apply the American stress and sound to your own speech. How you can control the strong and weak sounds in the way that the typical American English speaker would. And we do this by focusing on the letter T. We look at it from all angles. We see how T can be strong like a T, like in the word time. But then we also get into the way that T can sound like a bit of a D sometimes. How I just did right there when I said a bit of a. I didn't say a bit of a D. I said a bit of a. In this instance, not only is T sounding like a D, but it's also linking my speech together. Now, if you want to learn about these concepts for yourself, to adjust them to your own speech, and if you want to support this podcast a little bit, check out the video course. Take a look on Udemy there. Just click the link and watch the first couple videos. There's some free videos. I did put a couple freebies up there for you. Check those out. See if you learn a thing or two. And if you like what you hear, I will be happy to teach you many more things through that video course. Well, thank you very much for your time today, folks. Now get out there and apply what we've discussed, apply what you've learned, and have a good one.